I don't understand the logic here that because you think the Democrats did nothing on the Epstein files in the Biden administration, that to own the libs, you now have license to leave sexual assault victims unprotected. It's just crazy that you hate the Democrats so much that you would let the most notorious child sex trafficker and the people connected to him not be held accountable because you want to own the libs. Let's just take you at your word. Okay, the Democrats did nothing. So you're going to do nothing is what you were telling me. Listen to some of the legislation you proposed on your side. I do believe sincerely you care about victims. And if that's who you are and you care about victims, sign the damn discharge petition. Okay, you can own us. I don't care. You can own us 1,000 times. If it gets us to 218 signatures, I will let you have whatever victory you think you're accomplishing.
A Republican lawmaker pacing through a litany of subpoenaed items, pronouncing that all the documents will be produced, while another insists Democrats did nothing during a previous administration. That back and forth is familiar. Accusation, deflection, a demand that opponents own whatever political advantage might be gained. But underneath those gestures is an ugly truth we need to reckon with too often.
I've listened to my colleagues in this Epstein debate on the Republican side ask over and over, why did the Democrats say nothing during the Biden administration? I've heard TV anchors ask. In fact, I was asked this morning the same question. Now, put aside the fact that in 2019, I called on Andrew Acosta to resign because of his connection to the Epstein files, and I wanted to learn more about why Epstein was not prosecuted. Put aside what Mr. Raskin and Mr. Cummings did. Let's just take you at your word that Democrats said nothing. Is that a reason for you to do nothing? I don't understand the logic here that because you think the Democrats did nothing on the Epstein files in the Biden administration, that to own the libs, you now have license to leave sexual assault victims unprotected. It's just crazy that you hate the Democrats so much that you would let the most notorious child sex trafficker and the people connected to him not be held accountable because you want to own the libs. Let's just take you at your word. Okay, the Democrats did nothing. So you're going to do nothing is what you were telling me. The Democrats, of course, did not do nothing. But let me boil it down to a lesson that I have right in front of me every morning when a 6-year-old wakes me up around 5:45 and wants to watch the same movie over and over and over. That's Frozen. And there's a lesson in this film where Elsa is told by one of the trolls in the movie that if you can't see the future, all you can do is the next right thing. And having seen this, again, 100 times in the last couple years, my takeaway is if you don't know what's going to happen next and you can't change the past, all you can do is the next right thing. So even if you are right that the Democrats did nothing in the past, wouldn't the next right thing be to sign the discharge petition? Or are you so obsessed with just scoring political points that you would punish sexual assault victims? Is that who you are? I don't think that's who you are. When I listen to some of the legislation you propose on your side, I do believe sincerely you care about victims. And if that's who you are and you care about victims, sign the damn discharge petition. Okay, you can own us. I don't care. You can own us 1,000 times. If it gets us to 218 signatures, I will let you have whatever victory you think you're accomplishing. But it seems to me that you're more interested in telling me not to believe my own eyes, which is what the president is doing. The president is telling us not to believe our own eyes. And it's not just on the Epstein files and the birthday card. And by the way, guys, we can bring in a handwriting expert, but I have 2 eyes. And I know what that man's obnoxious signature looks like. And so do you. But Donald Trump has told us that he would end all wars on day 1, that prices would plummet and jobs would soar. And where are we? Ukraine has never been weaker. We've never seen more jobs lost in America since Donald Trump was last president. Even conservatives are complaining about how expensive grocery prices are. And even his own health, he's trying to tell us not to believe our own eyes. Joe Biden looks like an Olympic athlete compared to a man who is hiding his illness. Donald Trump is a broken man who has broke his promises. And if we don't start checking him, we are going to be a broken country. So my friends, if you sincerely believe that Democrats dropped the ball and did not do enough under the Biden administration, then join us now in doing the next right thing and sign the discharge petition. Otherwise, you're telling sexual assault victims this is just about scoring political points, and they come last. I yield back.
Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, I yield to the ranking member.
Well, just to add to your very eloquent statement there, it seems like these days every accusation is a confession. So the accusation is the Democrats have somehow changed their position. We've been opposed to child sex trafficking all along. We spoke out against it. I've introduced evidence to that effect. It's our friends across the aisle who've changed their position. They wanted to see the release of the Epstein files. Now that Donald Trump changed his mind, they've changed their minds. Thank you for yielding.
I would just claim 5 minutes. I would just point to the subpoena that Chairman Comer sent on August 5th of this year. I'm just going to read it. Now, frankly, I'll ask unanimous consent to put it in the record here. Scheduled to subpoena, in accordance with the attached schedule instructions, you, the Honorable Pamela J. Bondi, in your capacity as Attorney General of the United States, are required to produce the following documents and communications that are in your possession, custody, or control in unredacted form, except for redactions to protect the personally identifiable information of any victims, for any child sex abuse materials defined by the Department of Justice manual, or any other redactions required by law. And then there are seven sections here. Number 1, all documents and communications relating or referring to Mr. Jeffrey Epstein, Ms. Ghislaine Maxwell, and further relating to or referring to trafficking, exploitation of minors, sexual abuse, or related activity. Number 2, all documents and communications contained within the case file regarding United States versus Jeffrey Epstein. Number 3, all documents and communications contained within the case file regarding United States versus Ghislaine Maxwell. Number 4, all documents and communications contained within the file pertaining to the investigation of Mr. Jeffrey Epstein by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Florida that resulted in the 2007 non-prosecution agreement between the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida and Mr. Epstein. So this would answer what Mr. Raskin, I think, has raised real questions about multiple times in today's hearing. Number 5, all documents and communications relating or referring to United States versus Jeffrey Epstein, United States versus Ghislaine Maxwell, and the investigation of Mr. Epstein that resulted in the 2007 non-prosecution agreement between the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida and Mr. Epstein. Again, answering, I think, getting to the information that Mr. Raskin seeks. All documents, number 6, all documents and communications between the Executive Office of the President, including the Executive Office of President Joseph R. Biden Jr., and the Department of Justice relating to or referring to United States versus Jeffrey Epstein, United States versus Ghislaine Maxwell, and the investigation of Mr. Jeffrey Epstein that resulted in the 2007 non-prosecution agreement between the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida and Mr. Epstein. And number 7, all documents and communications relating to or referring to the death of Mr. Jeffrey Epstein. So seven but different bullet points. Every single one starts with the word all. I think the gentleman from New York earlier said that this wouldn't get the documents that started. Yes, it would. It covers everything. And the Oversight Committee has subpoenaed all that information. And it's coming in. I think there's 30,000 pages coming in, but it's a rolling production. This is the typical the way it works. We've done a lot of investigations around here. It's always a rolling production. So I think we're going to get the material. It's Oversight Committee is doing it. It's unfortunate that Mr. Goldman made the comments he did about the very fine chairman of the Oversight Committee, but he is getting the information that the American people asked for and that many members had demanded for a long time, including members on the Democrat side. So I'd ask unanimous consent that be entered into the record. Who seeks recognition?
The mechanisms meant to deliver truth, subpoenas, oversight, prosecutions, become weapons in a partisan fight rather than instruments for accountability. Listen closely to what's actually happening. A discharge petition is on the table, a tool in Congress that can force a vote to release records. Lawmakers who claim to care about victims refuse to sign it because they prefer scoring points over resolving the case. Committees subpoena broad swaths of material, every document, every communication, every piece of paper, and promise rolling productions. Rolling productions can be legitimate. They can also be an easy way to slow-walk transparency. Pages trickle out over months while survivors wait for answers that may never come in full. That's the human cost of the theater. Imagine surviving an atrocity and then watching elected officials fight about who looks tougher on TV instead of demanding the whole truth. Imagine being told the system will investigate, only to learn that critical files were sealed, plea deals were struck in back rooms, or agreements were cut that kept powerful people out of the spotlight. For survivors, truth delayed often means truth denied. There are structural dynamics here that deserve attention. First, incentives in Washington are perverse. Politicians gain by keeping outrage alive without resolving cases. It keeps them in the headlines and helps fundraise. Private interest and institutional protection often align against full disclosure. Second, legal processes can be co-opted. Non-prosecution agreements, sealed files, redactions to protect privacy, all can be used legitimately, but also can cover missteps, malfeasance, and favoritism. Third, the media cycle rewards spectacle, not sustained pressure. A single hearing makes waves for a day, but relentless oversight that actually produces answers requires patience and pressure from the public. What does meaningful accountability look like? It starts with centering survivors and public truth rather than partisan advantage. It means demanding that subpoenas be enforced fully and quickly, with minimal redactions that are narrowly tailored and reviewed by independent judges. It means ensuring any special deals or plea bargains are fully scrutinized and public, not tucked away. It means Congress using every tool it has, oversight hearings, subpoenas, and, when necessary, contempt proceedings to force production of documents that shed light on who knew what and when. There's also a broader, harder lesson. Justice systems and oversight institutions are only as strong as the people who insist they be. When members of Congress boast about owning their opponents instead of authorizing mechanisms to check power, institutions erode. The promise of equal justice under the law depends on persistent public demand, nonpartisan enforcement, and institutions that resist capture by political or financial influence. So what can each of us do immediately to move this beyond theater and toward truth? Contact your representative and ask them to support full, unredacted release of the relevant files, with narrowly focused redactions only to protect genuine victim privacy. Demand timelines, not vague rolling productions, and insist that any redactions be reviewed by an independent judicial authority. Support nonprofits and legal clinics that provide survivors representation and that file Freedom of Information requests and litigation to pry loose documents. Follow the Oversight Committee's work and call out both parties when they use process as a stunt rather than a path to accountability. And make clear, loudly and often, that protecting powerful people at the expense of survivors is unacceptable. This moment is a test of democratic will. We can shrug and treat it as another episode in a long political soap opera, or we can push for the systems and civic muscle that actually produce truth. If the goal is justice, the work is not glamorous. It is relentless, unglamorous, and uncomfortable. But it is the only way to ensure that survivors are not left in the dust of partisan theater, and that the powerful do not keep using secrecy and procedure to evade responsibility. If you care about truth and decency, take 5 minutes today, call your member of Congress, ask for support of the discharge petition or similar measures to force full disclosure, and back organizations working to represent survivors. Real accountability requires persistent citizens, not applause lines.